You stuck with a car that won't start, like won't even try to start? In today's video, I'm gonna go over the top 5 reasons your car won't even crank when you try to start it. And some of these are so simple, you may end up slapping yourself. Now, one of the main reasons your car won't crank when you try to start it is because of the battery. Now, the starting system of a car is an electrical system. So if you're not cranking, there's something electrical going on. So obviously we should start with the battery. A lot of people call me up and they're like, my car's not starting, I think I might be out of gas, or I haven't changed my oil in a really long time, so it might be that. But if your car is not cranking, turning over, then I can tell you it's not any of those other things with gas or oil or anything. It's gonna be electrical. One thing you can check that's real easy is that these terminal connections here are really tight, not like that. And also that they're nice and clean. Because if you have loose or dirty battery terminals, it'll keep your car from cranking because it's not getting the amperage it needs. Now, the other thing you want to be able to do with a suspect battery is to test the battery itself. And there are load testers, or you can take it to an auto parts store that offers free battery testing. But if you don't have one of those testers, you can actually just try jump starting the car. That will essentially bypass the current battery using another car's battery to start your car. And if all of a sudden your car cranks and starts, well, you know it was probably because of this battery. So if you suspect your battery, the questions you want to ask are, has it been a while since I replaced this battery? Because they only last 2 or 3 years. Was the battery recently replaced and maybe the terminals weren't tightened on correctly? Did the battery light come on to your dashboard before the car was shut off, indicating potentially that the alternator is not working and charging your battery? Or a really common one, has the car been sitting for a while? Because once it starts sitting for a couple weeks, a month or two, the battery actually drains itself. Another reason your car's not starting is, you guessed it, the starter could be bad. Now when it comes to starters, they rarely just die out of the blue. Oftentimes they're going to give you warning signs. So the question is, have you been experiencing little starter issues like this beforehand? So that would be where you get in the car in the morning, starts up just fine, but then an hour later you get back in the car and try to start it up. It won't start until you kind of jiggle the key around, then it'll get going. Those are signs that your starter might be starting to fail. Hey, bet you thought I was Scotty Kilmer, didn't you? He is the GOAT, but if you've got a minute, subscribe to Budget Mechanic as well. Now the quickest way to test a starter is you get a hammer or a tire iron or something hard and you actually beat on the starter a little bit while someone's trying to turn the key and see if you can get it to crank. A starter motor is just an electrical motor that can actually develop burn spots that will keep the starter from working. So when you're tapping on it, you're just shifting things a little bit so that it catches and begins working again. This doesn't work on all failing starters, but if you can tap on it and get it to crank, that means you've actually shifted the internal components just enough for the starter to catch and fire, and you know that that starter is the issue. The next reason your car might not be cranking is blown fuses or relays. Now where the starter sometimes gives you warning that it's failing, a fuse or a relay, when it goes, it's really sudden. Most of the fuses and relays in your car can be found in 2 places. Usually one fuse panel right by your battery under the hood, and another one often underneath your steering wheel in the cab. And what you're looking for is the little legend that shows you which fuses are which, usually on the inside cover of the fuse panel. And you're looking for any relay or fuse that has to do with ignition, battery, alternator, even the computer, ECU, anything like that. You want to make sure that it's working, because it's going to have an effect on your electrical system. So for fuses, there's often a little fuse puller you can use. And fuses are these little guys with the 2 metal clips. And they will usually have a little sight window you can look and see if the little loop of metal is burned or melted. It should be a solid piece from left to right. The relays are these plastic boxes. Sometimes they're square, rectangle, and they're sealed units with switches inside. You can't really inspect them physically. So what I can do is, if I want to check out this relay for ignition number 1, I can pull it out. I see that it has these 4 pins, and I can swap it with another one, say my horn. And I can put the horn one in the ignition spot, and if all of a sudden my car starts, well, I know that I had a bad relay. The next reason for your car not cranking, I like to call user error. So there's a few little things that keep your car from starting that you may think are too simple, but I see it all the time. So the first one has to do with your shifter. In an automatic transmission, the car will not let you start the car in any gear other than park or neutral. So if the last time that you parked, you didn't fully get it into park, the car's gonna think that you're in gear and it's not gonna let you start at all. Now this has even happened to me where I got so distracted when I was parking by kids or whatever that I've turned the car off while still in drive, gotten out and gone about my business, and then when I come back to start the car again, it's in drive, so it's not going to let me start. Now, another thing that can happen as cars get older, the shifting mechanism gets a little bit sloppy, so you may put it in park and it may say park on your dashboard, but the actual mechanism didn't quite make it there, and so it's blocking you from starting the car. This used to happen a lot on the old column shifters where the little indicator would say that it was in park, but it really wasn't. But regardless, the fix to all this is just to confirm extra sure that you are in fact in park. Or if you suspect something is going on with park for some reason, you can bring it to neutral and your car should start in neutral. Another user error is for those of you that have the keyless ignition, you just have the button push system. Most cars are going to require you to push on the brake before you start the car. So if you are not pushing on the brake or you aren't pressing on it hard enough, you can push the button all day and the car is not going to let you start. So easy fix, make sure you push that brake all the way down before you try to start. In the same vein, for those of you that are driving manual transmission cars, I drive a stick shift car, and what's happened to me in the past is someone else drives my car, adjusts the seat, and so without thinking I get in and I'm not actually pressing the clutch all the way down, even though I'm pressing it a little bit, and it's not enough for my ignition to let me start the car. So again, easy fix, just make sure that clutch is on the floor. Okay, the last reason that I want to talk about for your car not cranking is anti-theft systems. Now, the whole point of an anti-theft system is to keep people that aren't supposed to be driving your car from starting it. The problem is sometimes we can trigger our own car's anti-theft system. Now, if this is the case, you'll often see an indicator on the dash, maybe the radio, some logo or message indicating that the system has been triggered. And a couple things you want to think about are, was the battery recently replaced or did it completely die? Because that'll often trigger the theft system. Did the battery run out in your key fob or did it get wet or damaged? Because that can cause the vehicle to not recognize your chip key and therefore not let you start the car. So when it comes to resolving this issue, it can be as simple as replacing the battery in your key fob or as complex as needing to service your anti-theft system. Just depends on the car you have and the situation you're in. Now, there are other reasons for a no start, no crank condition in your car, such as your engine is completely seized. But those things are pretty rare. But if you think there's something else that should be on this list, make sure you let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear it. If this video is helpful, you're definitely going to want to check out this other one we made, also on starting issues, but where your car will crank but not start up.